Hi there, it's Monday and it's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, you know that Debbie and I were just celebrating the fact that we wore the same color today without even coordinating that.
We always do that. There's something wrong. I don't understand how we do that. We were blue at the same time, green, red. Wow. That's awesome. What do you think?
Yeah.
We should get our award for that. Everybody's giving out awards these days.
The virtual Bobsy Twins award or something.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I love it. I love it. Hello, Jerry. How was your weekend?
It was full. It was very, very full. Did a lot of trimming of stuff outside. I still have to pick a lot of it up. Did some purging of stuff in the kitchen and in my bedroom, and just feels good to just let go of some stuff that you haven't even looked at for 20 years. You're going, what am I doing with this in this house?
Wow. Did you struggle at all trying to say if you should it stay or should it go?
Not really, no.
Really?
I'm at a point now where if there's any question at all, it's gone.
Wow. Us too. We did a lot of cleaning, not spring cleaning, summer cleaning. Mm-hmm. And it was really good. Okay, we just got, Tom just sent us a note. What did he say? The EWTN Radio is proud to award you the virtual, coincidence award. That's kind of cool, Tom. Yeah, coincidence, we'll take it, right? Or God incidents?
Yeah, well, now we not only give out awards, we're receiving awards from the management at EWTN Radio. This is exciting.
But they're all virtual. You know, we can do whatever we want with them.
Yeah, that's true.
We put it on a virtual bookshelf.
Any award I've ever won was virtual, Debbie, so this just fits right into my life.
Yeah, me too. Me too. That's why I've been in therapy. Okay, come on, let's get serious, folks. We're talking about, this is our popular show today for the month. It's called In the News. And what we mean by that is, you know, you turn on the news, the mainstream media, and you see all the things that are trending and what's out there and what is circulated, you know, multiple times throughout the day. Where you can bring that up, but we're talking about the news that oftentimes gets overlooked or just briefly mentioned by the cable news networks or your local news. So we would like to hear some of those stories and talk about it and get everybody up to speed and make them aware of things, especially if it relates to our Christian life, our faith life, and if there's some prayers we can offer for people that are going through some tough things, we would like to hear from you. So it's in the news. If you had something that really caught your attention, you didn't think that the main news networks gave it enough attention, now it's a time for you to call in 833-288-3986 and share with us.
Well, things are happening all the time. We know that locally where you live, in your community, maybe your city, your state, obviously nationally and globally as well. So you're free to bring up news items that came across your path on any of those levels. But again, as Debbie said, it kind of keeps us abreast of some of the things going on locally where you are around the world. And we know we have people listening around the world, so you can certainly post at take2show.com. You can post on our Facebook or YouTube video channels, whatever you would like to share with us that you don't think the rest of the world maybe knows about right now. 833-288-3986.
So a couple things I just wanted to share. First is, I'm sure everybody's heard about it, that Simon Cowell, the host, one of the judges for America's Got Talent, he broke his back. He's not paralyzed. He was in surgery. I guess they put metal rods in his back, but he was out with his kids on an electric bike and fell off. I hope I have the story correct. But I just saw a Twitter, correspondence thing happened where he says he feels he's very blessed that he's not, paralyzed from this falling off this electric bike. So prayers for Simon Cowell. Also, Rachel Ray. Everybody loves Rachel Ray because she has such creative abilities in the kitchen. She's so amazing. Well, she broadcasts her show from her upstate New York home, and it has severely burned in a fire. Overnight, I believe. I think it was yesterday. She also posted as well that she is very grateful that they were safe. They were all safe. They were at the home when it burned. But you should see the billowing smoke and fire. It was unbelievable. It must have been a very large home. But that's where she films her show, Jerry. So I'm sure she's going to have to move another set, and we're grateful for her and her family that they are okay as well. Those are two little pieces of news that we can maybe send some prayers up.
Yeah, one that saddened me. Saddened me a little bit. Not a great deal, because the gentleman died. He was 91 years old, so that's a life very well lived. And this was an extraordinary life lived. It was, and I hope I say his name right, Ennio Morricone. He's the Italian orchestra leader, Oscar-winning Italian composer of more than 500 film scores, including The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, The Untouchables, and Quentin Tarantino's The Hateful Eight. He died on July 6th in Rome at the age of 91. What this article did not mention, and it's the soundtrack that I love the most of his, is from the movie The Mission. And that's how I got to know him. A very, very beautiful Catholic movie about missionaries to South America. So we pray for the repose of the soul of Ennio Morricone. Bonnie Pointer passed away. Debbie, did you know that?
I didn't.
One of the Pointer sisters, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she was 69. No cause of death has been announced. But I tell you, in my early days in radio back in the 1980s, the Pointer Sisters were just hot and on fire at that time. And we played a lot of their music. So God rest the soul of Bonnie Pointer. And many people have heard about Charlie Daniels passing away, too. He was 83 years old. The devil went down to Georgia. So there are a few little odds and ends that people may or may not have known about.
So we have people that have passed away, people that were in accidents, people that had their homes burned down partially, or I think it was massive destruction for Rachel Ray. Wow, we had a lot of activity. And then there was, let us not forget, over the weekend, quite a bit of still lives lost in Chicago area. In the heart of Chicago. Very, very sad, folks. I mean, we've got a lot happening, and it seems like it's just on a daily basis. So we have a lot of things that we should be really intensely praying for. And I just want to say, Jerry, for our country, the 54-day novena is starting Lady Undoer of Knots August 15th. So we ask everybody to please join us as we take on that wonderful, very powerful novena to help repair things, repair things. It's really important. Well, it's in the news at Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Please call us at 833-288-3986 and share with us the story that caught your eye.
John Martinoni.
Okay, the serpent was Satan, essentially. He had taken the form of a serpent. Satan is culpable because he tempted them to evil. He is not responsible for their sin. They had free will. They could have said no. Satan is culpable because he tempted them to do something contrary to the will of God.
Open Line with John Martinoni. Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Here's today's quote from Mother Angelica's Perpetual Calendar. A Christian has a sense of his Lord's presence, though he doesn't often feel it. Though his soul is often sunk in doubt, it is never clouded by those doubts, for he accepts his limitation with quiet humility. Mother's spiral-bound perpetual calendar features an inspirational message for each day of the year. It's available from the EWTN Religious Catalog at EWTNRC.com.
Hey, Take Two family, it's here, and we can't wait for you to see what we've created to help you reach your highest potential in life. It's StandTallToday.com, our brand new website loaded with just the things you're looking for. Those include our team of life coaches, resources picked out just for you, our webinars, book club, and more. Whether you're struggling to find your purpose or feel like you have it pretty much figured out, let us help you today at StandTallToday.com. That's StandTallToday.com. Great to have you with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. I am Jerry Usher with Debbie Georgiani, Michael Birchfield, our producer today. Ryan Penny is on the phones, and I believe Michael is doing social media for us as well. And I want to remind you that the Holy Rosary is brought to you twice a day from EWTN and has been for over 25 years. So for anyone who maybe you don't feel like you know how to pray the rosary, you're a little bit skittish to get started, just dive right in with EWTN every morning at 5:30 Eastern Time. You'll have Mother Angelica, and in the evenings it's 9:30 p.m. with Father Benedict Groeschel, right here only on most of these EWTN stations.
That's the one that Marty and I do, the one with Father Benedict Groeschel. I just love hearing his voice. I miss him. He was so great. Okay, we have some open phone lines. It's shocking, folks, shocking. So please fill up those phone lines if there's something that you want to bring to the Take Two family and to bring to their raise their awareness on something. Now's the time to call in at 833-288-3986. Just make sure if you can. There's a few things floating on Facebook right now and even on Twitter. They're not real accurate. I did a couple of fact checking stuff this weekend, and some things turned out not to be true. So please just check that before you bring it to the table if you can. But dial in. Let's talk about it. 833-288-3986. Okay, let's hear what Keith has to say. Keith is in Houston, Texas, listening on Guadalupe Radio Network. Hi, Keith. You are first up here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Good morning, Debbie, and good morning, Jerry.
Good morning.
Glad I got through to y'all. I usually love to listen to you, but it's not often that I can get through. And forgive me, I haven't fact-checked this, but when you said what's on our minds, I thought about a headline that I had read just this morning, about our relationship with China. And I had been kind of worried about, what I've been reading in the mainstream news. And I won't mention the source if you don't want me to. Most of my listening news I like to get from EWTN because I know the slant that I'm getting from there. Whereas some of the others are, either very liberal or very conservative. But this was neither of those. And my concern was that, I don't want to go to war with China. I'm worried about, the way that the country is now. And I kind of like it that way, although it could be better. But what I had read was that from China's point of view, they are already at war with us. And it's not a military war. It's not like they're, planning to invade us or even, launch ballistic missiles at us. But that we're in a data war and an information war and a spying war, espionage, and stealing trade secrets. And I don't want to cause an alarm, but I did want to bring it to everyone's attention that, if somebody does go out and fact check it and find, hey, Snopes or somebody says this is not true, great. But I just wanted to bring that up and get your take on that.
Well, Keith, thanks for calling. First of all, we appreciate that. And thanks to the Guadalupe Radio Network for carrying Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I think we all see this to a certain degree. I mean, you don't have to watch a whole lot of news, hours and hours and hours of it, to realize that we are in a sort of a war of a certain kind with China. You can be at war without a shot being fired. And we're hearing things lately about the app TikTok that I think was created in China and is designed to gather U.S. intelligence and probably in other countries as well. But we also see, and this has been going on for a long time, the further, I should say, declines in human, civil, and especially religious liberties. So China they're a bunch of bad dudes, and, they're not treating people well. And I don't know, God help them, and God help us help them, Debbie, is all I can say, because it is a very, very bad place to be right now, especially to be someone who wants freedom, especially religious freedom.
Yeah, there's so much going on over there. You talk about I always, how do you pronounce it? Some say Uyghurs, some say Uyghurs. I mean, you talk about what they're doing. Uyghurs?
Uyghurs, yeah.
Uyghurs, yeah.
Muslim.
Yes, and you're talking about how they're treating and the slave labor and how they're treating folks who want to have their private devotions to Christianity. I mean, I just think, Keith, when you're looking at this from just an outside view, how are we ever going to get on the same page with communism? I mean, we're not, and so we're going to constantly have problems. And I just pray we have very genuine leadership, and we continue with that, to be able to not have anything happen that is disingenuous and wrong and for certain personal gain. I pray that we are very smart in our negotiations, meaning America, smart in our negotiations with China. I think it's dangerous. I think it's dangerous how so many organizations and professional teams, professional sports teams, they work with China. Well, how do you work with China? I mean, it's so completely different from how we are raised in a Judeo-Christian, our roots. So I pray for that all the time, Keith. I agree with you. I think it's just getting worse. And everybody says, oh, well, if we change, the leadership of our country, it'll change. I really struggle with that, because I think that, when you're dealing with communism, look at your history books. It's not something you get to negotiate with. What do you think about that, Keith?
I think you're both right, especially when it comes to praying, because, we can pray for our leaders. We can even pray for their leaders, because I doubt that it's, they've got people over there that are working just like you and I and Jerry are working, and they're probably not out to destroy America or America's economy or make us all communists, or they probably don't care if we are Christians or not. But they do have, like Jerry said, they got some bad dudes over there that would like to see this either as a communist or a socialist country, and they're spreading it to some people in this country that do. Well, yeah, you're right on. You said pray for them, and not to be afraid of everybody who's in our country. We don't want to start what happened years back when we were just afraid of everybody from, outside this country, especially, during when we were rounding up people from Japan and putting them into camps. We can't do that. I mean, some of them are just as American as we are. But here in the Houston area, they just rounded up a bunch of diplomats whose job apparently was spying and espionage, and they sent them back home. They said, no, you can't do that here. So we do, like you said, we need to be smart and pray at the same time, to be, I don't remember how they said it, but innocent like lambs and shrewd as, it was the word vipers or something?
Oh, yeah.
Help me out there, Jerry.
Wise as serpents and gentle as doves. I think Jesus says in the Bible. Okay. But Keith, your last point, I think, is one that we ought to stay on for just a minute here. And when I said, there's some bad dudes in China, I'm talking about the leadership of the Communist Party. Many times on TV, even on secular news, but also on EWTN News Nightly, we see interviewed a man by the name of Gordon Chang, and he has written a book called The Coming Collapse of China. I have not read the book, so I don't know what the theme of the book is, but to give a book that title, he must feel something in his heart prayerfully, or he must be seeing something going on that he believes the path that they are on is not going to be a sustainable one for them. And you mentioned, or I think Debbie, you said, we don't want. One of you said we don't want to end up the same way that they are. There's one way that we could end up the same way as the Chinese Communist Party, and that's by following the lead of many of our leaders who want to go down a socialist communist road. And we need to put a stop to that as best we can. The most important way we can do that is by going to the polls in November.
Yeah. I agree. And Jerry's spot on, Keith, and I'll share one other thing. You were talking about, the rising tensions between China and the United States. We also have issues of, as we all know, with North Korea, Iran, Russia. I mean, there's so many places that they live and they conduct their life very different from the way we do in the United States. And I have to tell you, I am very concerned about the fact that we are not proud in a healthy way. We are not proud in a healthy way as Americans. We are so blessed. When Jerry and I when we've traveled to Israel and I've been to Italy and other places outside of this country, every person says they will tell us, you are so lucky to be in America. You are spoiled Americans, and yes, we are. And I see all this destruction and just tearing down and trying to rewrite things and try to create something where there isn't anything, and it's really unfortunate. Because we are blessed We are blessed to live in the United States of America, and I think we've lost that gratitude. What do you think, Keith?
And that's maybe one of the silver linings in this this COVID experience that we have, is that we're able to see what we have in comparison. And a lot of times you can't do that until you have something to compare it to. I have family that live in another country, and they're only able to go out about 2 hours a day. And they have to stay home. And if they're not essential business, which very few of them are, all of their construction is shut down. And, so yes, you are right. We're really blessed.
Yeah. And I think we need to take that back. And if we could be a leader, if we could be that lighthouse, that beacon of light that shines for the rest of the world, and do things in a really, godly way. Look at what great heroes can rise up from America that could help others who are dealing with all of this. I mean, look at the Christian persecutions that are happening all over the world. My goodness, I pray for people in Nigeria, in Kenya, all sorts of places. They're being persecuted for their faith. Look at Hong Kong and in mainland China. I mean, this is unbelievable what is happening. So I think through prayer, Keith, I really believe this, and a lot of mystics are saying this. Through prayer, we can really change things. We can right this ship. We can really make this, pleasing to God instead of so destructive. Will you join us, Keith, maybe for the 54-day novena starting on the Feast of the Assumption, August 15th?
I will. I'm glad you mentioned that. And I started with one that was a 40-day. I think it's with the Alliance of the Two Hearts, and it's something else. I think it's AHFI, something Family International, that they started at the beginning of August, a 40-day, much like the lifting of the plague on Nineveh.
Right. Okay, so real quickly, Jerry, if I can jump in, because Keith said something I forgot to mention. A lot of these other mystics and priests that are just really, they're healing priests, and some are exorcists, and they're really in tune with what's going on. They said, please dedicate your homes to the twin hearts, the Sacred Heart of Jesus, the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Have blessed holy water. Have blessed salt in your homes, blessed candles, have wear the green and the brown scapular, pray the rosary every single day, carry the St. Benedict crucifix. I mean, they're telling us what to do, and believe me, I know some of them personally, these fine, holy men and women of God, and they are spot on. And so this is our time, Keith. This is when we can all shine and do what we do best as Catholic Christians. And I know it doesn't seem like we're taking that forceful action, because everybody's like, well, what can we do today? I say we pray.
Pray. Sure. Agreed. Cool. Great take, cool. Jerry and Debbie.
Well, also by you too, Keith. Thank you so much for being part of the program today. We are grateful for that. Keith in Houston, listening on Guadalupe Radio Network, and he dialed 833-288-3986, 833-288-EWTN. What is in the news that has caught your eye? Maybe it's something other people may know about. Perhaps it's something that got kind of hidden and buried in your newspaper, or just a quick mention on your local TV station. 833-288-3986. Who was it, Debbie? Was it one of the Russian leaders many, many years ago who said that they were going to conquer the United States without firing a shot? Do you remember that? And basically what they meant was they were going to infiltrate and decay our morals and just break us down from within, basically. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to be a matter of having to take up arms. So we sometimes think of a war as being when people pick up rifles and put on armor and all this stuff and tanks and all of that stuff. But there are many, many wars, many, many battles that are being fought morally, culturally, and so forth, and especially spiritually. We need to put on the armor that St. Paul talks about.
Amen to that. And, I was watching the news early this morning, and they were talking about, when are we going to start school? Some schools are opening up with part-time, during the week or online classes, this and that. And then they brought out the real statistics of what's really happening and how our young, our youth are being just destroyed by suicide and drug addiction. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so we're we're splitting hairs with all this other stuff. Okay, and we've got children who are taking their own life. Okay, I just feel sometimes that we miss the most urgent need right now, and we overlook it. I look at just the other day there was another news article about the sex trafficking and what's happening, and I was reading it, and my stomach, I just said, this is unbelievable. This is something you see in a movie, a horror movie. Okay, but we're not addressing that as well, Jerry, because and I understand that COVID is a real threat. I get that, but look at what else is happening, and I just think it's important as Christians, we're a little bit more comprehensive in our approach. What do you think about that?
Well, I agree, and I believe that's why we have shows like this one, so that we can bring to the surface some of these other things that aren't really being reported or underreported. So, yeah, obviously, COVID is still very much in our sights, in our attention, so many other things, but we want to talk today about trending news, things that may have not gotten all the spotlight shown on them, but something that caught your eye. So please call and share it, 833-288-3986.
Dr. David Anders.
Our assurance of salvation is grounded in the objective word of promise from Christ, who said to the apostles, whoever sins you forgive are forgiven. Period. End of paragraph.
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
Hi, this is an EWTN Bookmark Brief. I'm Doug Keck. Just had the pleasure of speaking with the one and only Chris Stefanik about his latest work, I Am, Rewrite Your Name, Reroute Your Life. So what's the format of this book? How did you lay it out?
Very simple daily meditations to help you form a habit of speaking truth to yourself and replacing the lies. Mm-hmm. Video programs, the same thing. Short video meditations just to lead you through a process of renouncing the lies and accepting truths from sacred scripture.
And do you know what the web address is for the videos?
It's on reallifecatholic.com, and if you click on the coaching tab, or coaching.reallifecatholic.com, will bring you right to it.
You'll be able to get the videos along with also checking the book out through our EWTN Religious Catalog. Thank you, Chris. Chris Stefanik. Look for his wonderful programs on EWTN as well. That's the title, I Am, Rewrite Your Name, Reroute Your Life, published by Real Life Catholic, available through our catalog, of course. And check it out there, and check us out next time. And thanks for stopping by this Bookmark Brief. Look for the entire interview coming soon on the network as well.
EWTN, teaching the truth.
You have just a beautiful compassion and an affirmation of every caller. You zone right in to each person's need, and then you ask all of us to pray for that person, and I do. I just think you really, really have a great ministry. You just really are tonic and concentrated multiple vitamins for all of us spiritually.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
I'm Gloria Purvis.
And I'm Deacon Harold. The Morning Glory team asks, why don't Catholics believe in reincarnation?
Tomorrow morning, 7 Eastern. Now back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
This is your show. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and you. Debbie, maybe we should campaign to have the "and you" added to the formal title of the show. Jerry and Debbie, and you, and the listeners.
Or like Tammy was saying, we should call the show "She Likes God Incidents." She likes that. I agree, Tammy. Go ahead. So what else were you going to say?
I don't know right now. Oh. I was just going to say, I was going to invite people once again to call in if there is a news story. There's so much going on right now. And the thing is, we got the 24-hour news cycle, and I think for me personally, Debbie, one of the reasons I may not be up on the news as much as some people is because I watch as much news as I can, and it's so difficult to watch so many of the networks that I just turn it off and try and find something else to do. And the thing is, you can tune in about every few hours and still get the same news. You got the stories that are being reported, then you got the little ticker running along the bottom, and then you got something else over here on the side. It's sort of like news overload. But I'm just not as up on the news as many other people are, and I realize that I should be, I have to be, but it's hard to do that, for me anyway.
I'm kind of addicted to the news.
Are you?
As you can tell. Yeah, I am. I love the news. I have alerts that come up on my phone. I have like 7 different news feeds that come in. We have Sirius, and so we're constantly on the news. EWTN, of course. So then you didn't hear about the earthquake in North Carolina then? I think it was a 5.2.
I heard about the hurricane that was moving in that direction.
Yeah. Then there's an earthquake.
Oh,
there was an earthquake in North
last
Carolina.
Thing they needed. Oh my.
I know. And it was, and you should see the streets. I mean, it's amazing the power of an earthquake. You know,
almost apocalyptic, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. It really is. It really is. So let's talk about it in the news. Things that maybe kind of slipped our attention, and maybe even in your local area. I know that there were some. I heard in some different areas of the country there were some more damage of religious statues over the weekend. Some of that happening again as well. So yeah, here we go, folks. This is the world we live in right now, but let's talk about it. David in Toledo, Ohio, you're listening on Annunciation Radio. Hi, David. Welcome.
Hi, how are you? I'm a first-time caller and a listener probably for the whole time you've been on the air, and I just want to go off of the first caller in that these countries that pretty much are against us, like Russia, China, Korea, and such, they have vowed to take over this country economically. And we are very indebted to China, some $800 billion through bonds. I don't know if you realize that. And bonds are payable on demand, although I doubt we would surrender to them that easily. But they also, China, bought, I don't know who's allowing this, but they bought our AMC theaters out, which are 5,000 plus in number, and some 300 plus theaters, the movie theaters and the theaters that are performing arts in the United States, making them the largest conglomerate owner of these type of entertainment centers. And Japan pretty much owns, they're upset about the treaty after World War II they had to sign, and they pretty much own all of Hawaii as far as the hotel, motels, and properties go, and they've recently purchased our Jim Beam bourbon. So little by little, and there's so many more. I can't sit and tell you. I'm not an expert in economics or anything, but I hear these stories, and they seem to stack up, and they're not really talked about much in the secular news. I suppose, you know, it's kind of like secrecy, but it just irritates me that little by little we lose more and more industry and more property of this country, and once a deal is done like that, it's done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
David,
that's all I wanted to say. They don't have to shoot a bullet or drop a bomb. They don't have to do anything like that. They're getting our technology. They're buying our industry. They're getting our property. And, you know, it won't be long, and we'll be a whole different looking country.
David, yeah, absolutely. And we were very well aware of that. And let me just add a couple more things. You know, the drugs and pharmaceuticals and even vitamins that are all made in China. So you're absolutely correct. They know how to control us by various means. I found it interesting the other day when you were talking about the movie theaters. That's another angle. See, they're kind of conquering from all different ways in order to get us to be really reliant on them to some degree. And so Jerry, it was fascinating. They were talking about how Hollywood, now look at Hollywood doing this. This is unbelievable. The movies that they put out and the trailers for their movies, they have to be approved in communist China and scrubbed so that there's nothing that's offensive to China. Now, these are our movie producers here in America, but yet they're sending out two different versions of even the films. One is to us and one is to China. And So very, very interesting and very disturbing at the same time. But you can see the master plan. And David, I got to tell you, I'm not saying that I was up on it a long time ago, but I really was firsthand. The 5-star hotel that I worked at in the late 80s was bought by Chinese investors, and they came in, and there was 12 of them, and with their translators, they basically told us back in the late 80s that is the way they were going to take over America, by buying everything up. And they told us that, and they actually said to us as middle management, either you just comply and do what we say, or we will just fire you and get rid of you. It was very cold. It was very ruthless. It was a horrible meeting. And we all saw that in the late 80s. So I can't say I disagree with anything you said, David. And I think honestly, let's face it, they're watching their news and they're seeing us over here in America in complete chaos with these so-called protests that have now turned into horrible riots. Okay. And they're probably laughing their heads off, saying, look at America. They're self-destructing. What do you think, Jerry?
Well, yeah, I'm not nearly as up on all of that as you are, but I have heard many of the same things as well, and that is the Chinese want to basically get their tentacles so far into the United States in different industries that it will, as David said, it will make our country look a whole lot better than it otherwise would. And you mentioned how they took you aside and in no uncertain terms told you that this is what they plan to do. And it got me thinking, well, they're certainly not going to sit you down and say, well, we'd like to know what y'all think about this before we make this move. So it's really something that's being forced upon us in many ways. And so, yeah, we've got a lot of praying and a lot of fasting to do. If we want to see our country survive, I mean, our United States today is so much different than it was a year ago. And it's so much different than it was 5 years ago. You don't have to talk about generations here, Debbie. We can just talk about it in small chunks of time. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the reasons why you and I have the prayer and fasting campaign that we're doing, which we hope to talk about before the end of the program.
Absolutely. What do you think, David?
Well, I agree with both of what you've said, and you taught me, Debbie. I had no idea it went as far back as the 80s. I thought it was a little bit more 2000-ish current, and that's even more scary than what I thought. So you're right, much fasting and prayer, and I pray. I'm a prayer warrior and pray daily and pray with your program. When you ask for immediate prayers, I pray along, and I'll continue to pray, and I love your program and love what you guys do, so keep it up, and I'll get off the air for someone else, but very, very prayerful times are needed, because it's a scary time with what's going on and all this too, with the buying up of our properties and businesses. So thank you for my time on the air, and God bless you, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
God bless
Thank
you,
you, David. Yes, and David, you're not a first-time caller anymore. Thank you for being a long-time listener. You can call anytime. And Jerry, I just wanted to say back to the mystics that I happen to be following from around the world. A lot of them are saying that they've heard in locutions and different prayer and prayers that they say that they feel very connected to God, and God is giving them messages that God is hearing our prayers, and that things are being avoided and stopped and can be changed through prayer. So I just wanted to say, folks, please, I know sometimes it just seems like, well, what is my prayer going to do? It's going to do a lot, because remember, if we're all doing it together, we're storming heaven, and God is hearing our prayers. And so things can be changed radically, because we serve a very bold, radical God, right? And so I just want to encourage folks to please pray more. What do you think, Jerry?
We are doing that, and we have been inviting you for most of this. Well, actually, I was going to say this month. Last month, starting around July 1st, a number of people got inspired. It was related to us that they were going to do this. Debbie and her husband Marty and myself, we have taken this on, and we want to invite you to do the same. And that is, we are fasting sort of like like the Lent period of not for 40 days, but The Wednesdays we are treating as if they were Ash Wednesdays, fast and abstinence. And Fridays we're treating like they were Good Friday, fast and abstinence as well, which is, of course, all the way through Lent. But we want to make this a real strong offering to the Lord. And as Debbie said, mystics are hearing that God is hearing our prayers. God always hears our prayers. But when we really get on our knees and we say, Lord, we have sinned. We have sinned against you, against your laws, against your commandments, and we have not spoken the truth. We have not been out on the streets evangelizing. Lord, please forgive us for these shortcomings and overlook them or remove them from us. Heal us from them, and please take us under your wing and start anew with us. So that's what we're doing.
Beautiful. Okay, let's go to Jerry, and Jerry's listening on JMJ Catholic Radio. I hope I got your city right. Is it Moscow, Pennsylvania? Just like it's spelled? Jerry, welcome.
It is. It is. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. So, yes, first-time caller, long-time listener. Thank you. And
Nice.
you both do a beautiful job. Thank you so much for the work that you have done for all of us who listen to Catholic radio and all who are Christians.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you so much. Praise be to God. All glory to God, Jerry, but thank you.
So I wanted to comment on the difference in the type of articles that are covered by the secular media as compared to, the Catholic, maybe NPR, or not NPR, National Catholic Register, et cetera. So there was an incident that happened on August 1st. A young 21-year-old boy, Isaac Sharbuck, was killed while he was riding his bicycle. And the press covered the story, of course, very small compared to COVID and all of that kind of thing, but a very small article for this one young man. But the CatholicReview.org covered it in detail because it showed how Catholic his family was. This young man was he came from 9 brothers and sisters. He joined the Catholic Church in 2009. His father was ordained as a Catholic priest in 2013. You remember Pope Benedict opened that up in the ordinariate for Anglican priests to come over into the in full communion with the Catholic Church.
Mm-hmm.
And just to read the depth of this young man's life and the story of his family and the love it was like a prayer itself. It was so inspiring. And I thought, wow, what a missed opportunity that was for, the secular press, how they cover things. And then when you dig deeper and you find out the history behind this particular young man and what he gave to the world at such a young age. And he was a gifted artist in addition to possible formation as a priest. And a life lost, but no doubt that his family, although grieving, I can't imagine what it must be like to lose a child.
Mm-hmm.
So grieving to an intense depth also recognizes, how much God is a part of their life in all of this, and the forgiveness. The gentleman who, I don't know if it was a man or a woman, they did make it clear that they did not leave the scene. And so I was imagining, wow, what that forgiveness must be like that we hear so little of, in the press. And that was my comment.
Mm-hmm. Jerry, do you want to comment first?
I sure can, yeah, Jerry. What a sad story, and I had not heard about it until you called in, and I just happened to do a quick internet search, and there is this in memoriam from, it looks like Davidson Catholic Campus Ministry. And first of all, the tragedy of a life lost, like you said, but in his case, in Isaac's case, very, very handsome young man, rosy cheeks, looked like he was just beaming, in love with life. It looked like he loved life. He was involved in campus ministry. It says in the article, Isaac was one of our most committed and devoted CCM leaders and was greatly respected and admired by his classmates. and a very accomplished artist. So, anytime any life is lost, it's a tragedy, and we certainly recognize that and acknowledge that in this case, Debbie. Beautiful, beautiful young man whose life ended much too soon, but we hope and pray for the repose of his soul and for comfort, especially for the person who hit him.
I feel the same way. I'm so sorry that he left this earth, but I'm happy that you took the time to make us all aware, because you're right. I just a quick thing I just wanted to say, if folks, if you haven't noticed it yet, even the Catholic print media sources and stuff like that, everybody's got their own kind of little agenda. Okay, either they're on the far right side, or they're moderate or progressive or liberal, or whatever you want to whatever you want to label it. Everybody's into labeling right now, and so everybody's putting out stuff that you can tell is definitely moving and fostering their own agenda. So I tell Catholics all the time, because they'll send me news articles and they'll say, Deb, is this okay to read? And some of it really can get us very confused as Catholic Christians. Okay, I tell everybody, match it up to the catechism. Okay, if something doesn't ring true to you that you're reading, be very, very careful and proceed with caution. Just don't accept it just because somebody slapped the Catholic label on it. I can't stress it enough. I've been saying this since 1984, since I started in catechetical ministry. It's very dangerous. So I just wanted to say, when you were bringing that up, Jerry, I don't know if that's where you were going with it, that some places are highlighting things, some aren't. Are you finding that as well?
I am exactly finding that to be true, Debbie, and we do have to be cautious. So I hope I'm not going out on a limb by saying I just go to EWTN.
Good.
Because honestly, that is the fullness of the Catholic Church that follows the catechism, the magisterium, the way that Christ intended, and the way our church intended.
Absolutely.
So we can count on that. And my gosh, that is so amazing that we do have something that we can count on. Because what you're saying is so true.
Yeah. Well, the only reason you're welcome, Jerry. The only reason I'm saying is because lately I've been getting wonderful friends and even listeners to the show. They're sending me articles and they're saying, "But it's coming from a Catholic source." And I said, yeah, it's got the Catholic name, but it's really not, authentically Catholic." And I think there's let's face it, we're kind of dividing up right now. You're getting those that are really authentically a Catholic and those that are Catholic in name only. And I always say to people, that's just not the same thing. And so I just hope people will definitely look into that as Catholic Christians. And as we, remember, this is an election year, so now it's even worse. It's even heightened. Yeah. Everybody's kind of dividing, right, Jerry?
Absolutely.
That is very true. And Debbie, I would just like to compliment you on one thing. God has given you a great gift, both of you, a great gift of speaking in love and charity. That division is evident. It's coming to the surface more and more. But what a beautiful gift you both have in speaking in love and charity to, those people who may not be knowledgeable. They grew up catechized, but not evangelized.
Right. Well, thank you, Jerry. It sounds like you have that same heart as well, and we receive that as high praise from you, and we thank you for calling the program there from Moscow, Pennsylvania. Jerry is listening to JMJ Catholic Radio. David, we're going to get to you, but I just want to mention first, in this technology world that we live in, you can take EWTN with you anywhere you want, and that's because the EWTN app is available for download in the EWTNapps.com. You can enjoy live TV and radio, video and audio on demand, EWTN news, program schedules, prayers, and devotionals. Again, all at EWTNapps.com.
Okay, and so as promised, we're going to go to David in Denver, Colorado, listening on Catholic Radio Network, is a first-time caller as well. Hi, David. Welcome.
Hi, how are you? I listen on 1060 over here, and I was intrigued by the program because I thought it was definitely an interesting topic, and I had almost accidentally, and I listen to EWTN all the time and try to watch it as much as I can, run into the EWTN interview that they did with Trump. And I guess, and I'll take your comments on it. I've always been kind of, torn because even with saints, some say we'll never mention politics over the pulpit, and some, mention it all the time. And Trump just made an intriguing point about, given the Catholic views of things, how don't they vote for me? And I guess it's, our bishop here has done a great job, Bishop Samuel, because he actually said, hey, if you're voting for pro-abortion candidates and you go to, confession, I'm assuming you're not going to do it again. But generally, they always avoid, calling out particular politicians and that. So again, I'm just curious why we don't get more, definitive, I guess, guidance from the Catholic press regarding that issue. So that was kind of my thoughts, and I was wondering what you thought about that.
Okay, so given that we're on Catholic radio, David, it's always been told to me, and I'm sure it's for Jerry as well, that we are not in a position, and nor should we endorse an actual candidate to actually say this is the person you should go for. And I also think that, or a party, or to endorse or to encourage people to get behind a certain party. Okay, but I think there's a beauty in that, because it allows us to exercise our free will, our informed conscience, to be to understand where we're at in our own faith life. And I think it does translate beautifully into the public square. Bishop Olmsted wrote a wonderful document, Catholics in the Public Square. It is actually up on our website, take2show.com. And I would encourage all of our listeners to read it. He did a great job of putting out the facts of what it means to be 100% Catholic, authentically Catholic. And so with that, then we make the decisions when we go into the voting booth. And I think there's a healthy, beautiful way that respects us and the dignity of how we can use logic and reason and our faith and our understanding and really a well-formed conscience when we do vote. And so I actually like that I wouldn't want it the other way, for me anyway, but that's what we do on Catholic radio. We present what we believe as Catholic Christians, and hopefully people will put their own kind of let's just face it, selfish agendas aside. If they really want to be authentically Catholic, then that's what we do, right, Jerry?
Absolutely. And some would say you can't even go as far as to mention anything about politics on the radio, which is really not true. We cannot endorse parties or particular candidates. But when it comes to talking about morals, for example, abortion, we can talk all we want about abortion and simply say we must vote pro-life. That is not endorsing a candidate or a party in any way whatsoever. And think about this, Debbie. We're called to form our consciences on things like the Eucharist, the sacraments, on Mary and the papacy and the saints. But why would it be any different with politics? The church looks at her children and says, we want you to grow up, to mature, to develop your faith, to be formed in your conscience. So this is really just part and parcel of what it means to be a Catholic Christian.
I completely agree. What do you think, David?
Oh, I think, yeah, definitely. I think I didn't know. That's intriguing with the Catholic radio that there were limitations there. I just tend to, I guess, think a little bit, because I also listen to National Public Radio and et cetera, that I don't know how they get away with it. But I mean, going back to what one of your other callers had said, even though I don't know how they set up their programming and whatever, but as it appears, they're not pushing a very hardcore agenda. They do, and I sometimes wonder that I run into many friends or maybe even listeners of good Catholic radio or whatever, and they're completely confused about that. So
Jerry.
All right, well, thank you, David, for the call. We appreciate hearing from you, and Mike in Cincinnati and the others. We are going to have to close things out here for our show. Dr. Ray, the Doctor is In, is coming up next. Tomorrow on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, how do you respond to people who annoy you?
Ooh.
We don't have people like that in our lives, do we?
Sure we do.
Well,
I get annoyed every day.
Debbie, will you forgive me?
Yes, I forgive you. Until tomorrow, have a beautiful and blessed day. We'll see you real soon.
You've heard of the incredible shrinking man? This is Dr. Ray Gurendi. I am the incredible manly shrink. The doctor is in next.
It's Catholic from coast to coast.
So Terry emailed my son, who was not sick, complained to my father-in-law, why can't I just watch